Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Apex Racing TV. You're watching the Radical Racing Challenge Strength of Field race. Tonight, we're finally visiting a track that I've been harping on about for the entire season. It's a track where everything seems to happen. In 1989, it played host to one of the most controversial races in F1 history, as racing legends Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost collided to grant Prost the victory for the F1 1989 Drivers' Championship. In 1990, Senna and Prost decided to repeat history with another controversial crash at this very same circuit. If you still don't know which circuit I'm talking about, it's of course the one and only Suzuka. 5.8 kilometers of legendary racing tarmac includes iconic corners such as 130R, Spoon, and the infamous Casio Triangle. Our racers have had 7 races to practice this season and will have to put all of that experience to use as they get tested to the absolute limit of their ability. I'm joined in the booth by our resident Radical Challenge commentator, Sam Fitzpatrick, and behind the cameras we have Jamie Fluke managing the broadcast for us. Sam, I do know for a fact that we're both very excited for this race. I just want you to ask, which aspects of this race are you really looking forward to, and where can we expect the action to appear?
I think for the drivers, it is just going to be a pleasure to drive this circuit because, as I always say, it's the best track in the world. It's just got such amazing corners, every single corner around this place. I could not improve whatsoever. So I think for the drivers, it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's also a very good race circuit. There's a lot of slipstreaming opportunities, particularly the run from Spoon all the way to turn 1. You've only got one braking zone in that entire stretch and a lot of slipstreaming around there. And so, yeah, I think there'll be plenty of overtaking tonight. Not easy necessarily, not the easiest circuit in the world to overtake, but probably one of the more raceable circuits that we've visited so far this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, as you said, it's kind of one of those joys to drive. I remember the first time I did a race here, I forgot to do my pit stop. But that's kind of how distracting the circuit can be. It really absorbs you in the racing. I mean, the corners are a dream to take. Even the Casio Triangle, I mean, normally chicanes are a bit of a nightmare to navigate, but even that can be a fun little portion of this track. Of course, lots of action for me personally that I've seen going into the hairpin, into Spoon Curve. I've seen a lot of overtakes happening there. And of course into the first corner, but I've seen people be as crazy as trying to overtake on 130R. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for the drivers to be very creative, and we'll see if some of them can surprise us this evening.
Yeah, someone will try a 130R move, and when you do it around the outside, it always just looks great. It always looks tricky, it always looks epic, as the first times are coming in, and at the moment, Kane Halliburton, who has been dominant so far this season, is not on pole position. Instead, it is Nathan Moore doing Northern Ireland proud at the moment. Muller in 3rd place, and Plumley, who has got over 10,000 iRacing starts, which is insane. I think I've got about 700, and I feel like I've done quite a few, but no, he's absolutely on to 5 figures, is Plumley. He is currently using that experience to his advantage. He's up in P number 5, as 11 drivers so far have set times. A few drivers have yet to complete their first laps in this qualifying session.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers, well, now 5, as Blanco jumps up into 4th place with a 153.773, so he's probably going to be happy with that. And as the drivers kind of just get their tires up to temperature, get them within the working range, we'll see some different lap times coming in as they cross the line, but already a fairly big spread between Nathan Moore and currently Ortlovs at the back of the pack, as Muller is charging down for a lap time, so we'll see where he ends up. Muller, of course, one of the interesting characters coming out of the previous race at Phillips Island. Those of you that don't know, this man has a rather peculiar hobby of, what was it, Sam, feeding peanuts to crows? Anyway, he's currently putting in purple sectors, lots of purple sectors to be honest. And let's stay with him as he goes through the Casio Triangle and through the last few corners. That's a green sector for the last one. I think that's a bit of a weird glitch with the timing system. Halliburton jumping all the way to the top with a 152.314. Muller coming up to 3rd place with a 153.140, and the pack shuffling a fair bit.
Yes, these second times being put in, and great news for Halliburton. He was able to take it. So Moore was able to improve, but not enough to keep that pole position. So very much the tyres coming into their own on that second lap time for the drivers. So we've got a few more drivers across the line. Ortlovs is the next. Can he move himself up at all? Yes, he can. He's up a couple of places, and he's very close to both Kant and Van Haal right there. Blanco, well, he'd need a big improvement in order to move ahead. He could get close to Muller here. He crosses the line, and he's, yeah, within 2/10, but still in 4th position. The only man left is Abdul Al-Amri. However, that doesn't look like that's going to be an improvement for him. He's taking the alternative line. I always feel like, yeah, and how the old circuit of this surely had just a sweeping right-hander onto the front stretch, but I don't believe it did. I might have to go on racingcircuits.info, but that's always been there, the Casio Triangle.
As far as I can remember, I think the current layout is running all the way from 2007 or 2009. I'm going to be lying if I'm saying that I'm very sure about that, but it has been there for at least a decade. So lots of races decided in that chicane. I've seen quite a bit of chaos. I'm just going to take a quick quiet moment to just thank one of our sponsors. So thank you to Virtual Racing School. You can use them to improve your on-track performances with over 50 plus data packs for road and oval racing. They've also got setups, track guides, and their very good data analysis software. And if you were to need it, they've also got one-on-one coaching. So do go check out Virtual Racing School if you're interested. Meanwhile, we have our classified results. So right at the top, as per usual business, Kane Halliburton with a 152.314. Then we've got Nathan A. Moore sitting in second, so good representation from him there. Then we've got Muller sitting in third. Blanco in 4th position, so I think, if I remember correctly, that was his first time they put in that gave him that position. Then we've got Kudrowski in 5th. Plumley in 6th, Loves in 7th, and Putniks in 8th position. And then Neersison, or apologies for butchering that, in 9th, Kant in 10th, Ortlovs in 11th position. Van Haal is taking grid position number 12. Okay, De Leonardis taking 13th position. Stephen Place in 14th. Dixon in 15th. And Al-Amri 16th, with Shenbury taking up 17th position. So almost all of the drivers on the grid. I think we're just waiting for 4 of them, and we should be ready to get going.
Yeah, no, I do just have to quickly apologise. There didn't used to be a chicane there. The chicane was implemented in 1983. They decided to add that chicane. It is a very good chicane, I must say, as you were saying earlier on, Johan. There's a certain amount of satisfaction that you can get by going through it. But on the more important areas, Halliburton on that pole position. It's a long run down to turn 1. You can go round the outside, however. But yeah, let's see how these guys get away from the green flag.
So we have our lights up. As you said, long rundown to a right-hander. Kane Halliburton on the outside of that. And the lights are off, and a good start for all of our front runners. That being said, Nathan Moore looking like he's getting a bit of a jump on him made by Muller. So Muller on the outside there doing a superb job of staying alongside there with Moore. The rest of the pack all piling through. Sam, you'll have to tell us if something happened there. Oh, and lots of smoke. I think that is,
Julius Muller.
Muller off. Unfortunately for him, he's had such a good start, so he's going to be fighting back through the pack on the drive back. Neersison in 8th position. As you can see, just that immense pack of cars going through Snake and up towards the Dunlop curve. And all the drivers getting through fairly cleanly. 2 drivers alongside as Ortlovs on the defensive and under pressure by Al-Amri.
Yeah, Almri's up 7 places. Absolutely incredible for him so far. Ortlos himself up a few places. Halliburton still leading the way. Now we go into the hairpin. See a lot of overtakes in real life around this corner, not so much in sim racing. I think you do really need to commit to it and be very confident that the driver ahead of you isn't going to take the middle line when you're attempting that move. And so we don't usually see it too much. We see the drivers just wait until the Casio triangle or turn 1. Halliburton starting to spread away a little bit. Moore was able to keep up for the first few corners. You'll have a little bit of a draft, and this is where you want to be close to the driver ahead compared to the racer circuit, where it is a bit of a disadvantage. Are we going to see a move into 130? I don't think we are for those two, and we're not going to see a move either for Ortlovs and Al Amri, but Al Amri looks a lot faster. Oh, we got a car spinning round. Unfortunately, he goes off the circuit. That is Plumley who has spun round. Oh, and got another bit of contact there, just going right into the rear, and that was Dixon who drops right to the back of the field. And I think that's Delia Nardis who has also missed the chicane right there. I don't think he was the one who made the contact, however.
That is going to be a horrible slowdown, though. So just looking, you can see there Plumley losing control of the rear of his car. Very big risk through 130R. It's basically flat out through there. And there you can see Dixon just getting turned, shoved on the rear, and some of the other drivers also kind of taking evasive action.
Could have been Van Harley. I'm not 100% sure about that one, but I think it was Van Harley. Oh dear. Delia Nardis is dropping down as well. And he seems to really be struggling right now. He was, of course, had to cut the chicane, I believe, on that lap one. Now Dixon at the back of this at the back of the pack, as they start to spread out a little bit more.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I mean, getting a slowdown right into the main stretch, it's going to hurt your attempts quite a bit. Love's very slow exit there, as Putnik's behind him is just snapping at his heels, trying to look for an opportunity, but Love's looking a bit safer for the time being. The cars just, as you said, spreading out. It seems like they're almost pairing up on track. You can see there the two cars. Oh, and the big slide there by Skembry, and he's going to be recovering there on a spoon curve.
Oh, he buried the thoughts we're trying to get back on, but it wasn't a particularly good run. That could be interpreted as a poor rejoin, and Kant will try to take advantage. They could even go through wide if they so wish, but it's a fairly narrow circuit, is this Suzuka course, so old as it is, and it is Shembri who eventually wins out on that one and might be able to pull away Muller up into 14th place. Look at Delianadis as well. He's going to go for a bit of a lunge into 130. I will at least get his opponent offline, and he'll have a good chance by the end of this straight, which I think is about 800 meters long down to turn 1.
Yeah, it's a fairly long straight, but that braking zone into the first corner is a difficult one. It's a corner that's kind of broad, but Delunard is just looking for opportunity, not seeing anything offered by Kant. He's going to stay behind in the snake series of corners. But yeah, that first corner tightens as you progress throughout the corner, and it makes for a very difficult corner as a driver when you're trying to make an overtake. That being said, it offers a fair good amount of opportunity if you can get your nose up on the inside, or if you can carry the momentum all the way through the outside. But it is a risky turn. Blanco into third position, doing very well for himself. A position gained since the start, so he's just going to try and keep it consistent, try and keep in the position, and have Halliburton and Moore in front of him battle it out as he tries to close down that gap of 3.5 seconds. And Love's in 5th position, trying to fight off Putniks, and Ortlovs are following closely behind him. You can see there almost 3/10 between Loves and Putniks. Not a very big gap, and Putniks has got company. He's got Ortlovs and Al Amri behind him, so he's trying his absolute best to get ahead of these cars. And Al Amri, very good opportunity here on Ortlovs. Is he going to try and go around the outside of 130R? It looks poised to do it. Switches around to the inside. No overlap yet, and maybe not enough of an overlap as they go into the Casio triangle. And still side by side, goes for the inside. Side by side, now gets the outside line. Does he have enough traction? And he might have to fall behind for the draft. No, he doesn't, and they're going to be side by side down the main straight.
Yeah, super competitive stuff. That move almost pulled off. It was a very risky attempt there to try to get the cut back. We're going to see an all the way around the outside move this time, however, from Al-Amri. Ortlov seems to have the upper hand, but he stayed alongside, and really I have no idea who's going to win out from this position. We don't see side by side through the S's too much of the time. However, it is Ortlovs who gets ahead eventually, up 4 places. Al-Amri up 8 positions, and yeah, really competitive racing front. The pair of them on that last kind of 5 or 6 corners right there. Nursian is in 10th position. He's down 1 place from his race start. And he's got Plumley, who had that issue on lap 1, spun at 130. Unfortunate to still be in the race, frankly. But I think Plumley's got decent pace, and he might have eyes on even a top 6 finish here, but he needs to, of course, be making some moves very quickly. Just needs to be patient around this part of the circuit. Through 100 are they'll head, and it's all about that exit from Spoon Corner, which, in my opinion, Johan, is one of the most tricky corners in all of iRacing.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I've spun myself off multiple times. I've seen other drivers spin themselves off multiple times. It's so difficult when you're trying to carry through the speed, and it's kind of almost like a double apex corner. You're not really catching the rhythm of the corner as easily as you normally do on other tracks. But yeah, you definitely need to do your absolute best. Kane Halliburton and Nathan A. Moore battling it out through the Casio triangle, behind one another, 4/10 separating the two of them. You can see the draft there helping Moore just stay in contention. 2/10 between the two of them. Now that's a massive draft down the main straight, and Moore inching ever closer, applying the pressure. And you can see they're just backing off to get some clean air over the car. Meanwhile, Muller and Place also duking it out down the main straight, so he's going to be careful going into turn number 1. On the recovery drive, so still 9 positions lost in total, but Muller has been moving up through the pack. So since lap 1, he's been in last position. He's clawed his way back all the way to 12th. So he might still maybe come in contention for, I'd say, the top of the middle of the pack at least. So possibly 7th or 6th position if he does his work correctly.
Yeah, he's catching the cars ahead by about a second a lap. He's 8 seconds behind. We've got 8 laps to go. So if there wasn't traffic, I think he would, have a good chance at catching up. Yeah, for maybe P4. But yeah, with those extra overtakes he's got to do, you would think that's going to hold him up a little bit. Felix Kant in 15th place. Or is he going to get overtaken here by Dixon? He's super close. Dixon looks a lot faster. He was 9/10 of a second faster on that last tour of the circuit. And I'm trying to think of some puns relating to Kant the philosopher right now, who I had to endure 3 months of at university. But really nothing is coming to mind at the moment, so I'll keep on working on that one. And still, there's no change into Spoon, but Plumley's had another issue. It's his second spin of the race, and he is going to be around those straights. He's going to be behind those drivers by the time he gets up to speed.
Yeah, Sam, I was going to say that you can't really make any puns regarding to this driver.
Well done. How did I not get that one? Shocking stuff. Dixon's passed now that he's got the 130. It's not around the outside though, so it doesn't count as a mega move. Oh, he's not happy though. Is Kant whatsoever? And again, honestly, Kant came up with some bloody insane ideas. I cannot put any of them into a pun. Blanco was off the circuit for a second. What is happening with Blanco? Blanco's dropping down. Oh no, he's spun it. He's crashed it out the first corner.
What has happened there? Because he's had such a consistent race. We'll have a bit of a look at the replay. So breaking into corner number 1. He's got the grip, and still has a grip, so accelerates out of the corner, and oh, that curve just straight up murders him. Oh, that's just got to be sad.
Yeah, that was unlucky on that one. I'm surprised the curb's that slippery because, yeah, he didn't hit the grass or anything. But yeah, just had absolutely no traction over the curb at all. So that was a shame for him. Moore is getting super close. Good that he can get that close on that part of the circuit. And well, that's Halliburton running wide. I don't know if you faced this, Johan, but the exit of the first part of Spoon, that curb, in some cars, if you dip a wheel onto it, you're just gone every single time because there's almost like a mini sausage curb almost. And sometimes if you place a wheel on that, then it's absolute curtains. I don't think that's the case with these cars, but it always puts a shiver down my spine whenever I see drivers doing it.
Ooh, and this is looking very tasty. So Putniks and Loves side by side into 130, or is someone going to back up? No, it's side by side around the outside, and Putniks is going to secure the position. Is he going to have a good look into the Casio Triangle? Yes, he does. Right on his rear with Loves. He's got 2 other cars for company as well, so Al Amri and Ortloves looking down the rear wings. Just this convoy of 4 cars going down the main straight, and now the draft is going to be in Love's favor. Is he going to have an opportunity? Defensive on the inside as Putniks tries to block him off. Almost side by side. Is he going to have the pace around the outside? No, he does not. Possible opportunity for a switchback here, but Putniks gets his foot down in time, and you can see the gap opening up slightly to the cars behind, and Loves now under pressure from Al Amri.
Really nice move there from Putniks. He was just about far enough ahead, and it was good as well to see him actually take the corner. Sometimes you can just, bomb it around the outside at 130, not get a slowdown, pick up the 1x and do the move that way, but he always had part of the car within the white lines. And credit as well, of course, to Loves for actually leaving some space there, not just tracking out and potentially causing an incident. But this is going to be a long few laps now for Loves. He is just dropping back in this pack. Al Amri was able to get past Ortloves then eventually. We saw earlier on he wasn't able to get past, but he has been able to get past since. And, well, this one looks like a matter of when, not if. If Al Amri keeps on using those racing lines, it may take a little while because that sets him back a few tenths of a second.
Yeah, it is a bit of a difficult one there. I'm just quickly looking at the stats down the field and looking at the latter half of the field. Ooh,
oh no!
And that's Kudrowski out. Ooh.
And Al Amri.
Big spin.
Al Amri must have got caught up when Kudrowski rejoined, I imagine.
So just looking as Kudrowski goes into the corner. It almost seems like he just went into the corner with too much speed, and as he tried to slow down, the rear just got way too light and overtook the front of the car. And there you can see, who was that again? That was Al Amri, also taking a bit of a sympathy spin. I think possibly looking at the car of Kudrowski and kind of getting a bit distracted. Funnily enough, what I was about to mention, and Miller almost going for the inside there of Nutrition, or yeah, some of you just have the most difficult surnames. But what I was going to mention is that looking at the latter half of the pack, it has changed now, but there were a lot of drivers losing tons of positions, and we're talking about 5 plus, 6 plus positions, some even as much as 11 positions. So this has very much been a race of consistency, with lots of drivers either getting into collisions, making mistakes, and making it very difficult on themselves.
Yeah, and this is what happened to Shemri. So I think Shemri, he is still going, I think. Oh, but I think he seems a bit stuck in the pits, actually. Oh, wow.
Oh.
That was that Blanco or Dixon? I think it may be Dixon. Blanco's also in the pits. Maybe no, Blanco's been in the pits for a while, so I don't think it involved him. Oh man, so I mean, Dixon's not going to know where the car head is. He could just see smoke. He got angry, I don't know.
I'm just really glad that this is a sim racing race and not a real life race, because otherwise it would have been very quiet in this commentating booth. Side by side, Halliburton and Moore as they're going down the main straight. This is going to get very interesting. So Halliburton on the inside is trying to push Moore towards the outside. Moore getting ahead of him and driving all the way around the outside. Very, very good overtake there for Moore. And now the pressure is being applied the other way around, as Halliburton has the opportunity to chase down Moore down the Snake S's.
Yeah, that was absolutely mega. I don't know if he's been waiting for that one, Hasmore, but he seemed to be so much more alongside it. Maybe it was a mistake from Halliburton. I imagine it was through the chicane. So easy to do, where you just run it in a bit deep and then it compromises your run all the way down the front stretch. And Moore made that one fairly easily. So Does Halliburton have the pace to respond? At the moment, doesn't look like it is the case because he's struggling to stay within half a second of his rival. May need a mistake from the Northern Irish driver in order to take the race win tonight. Putniek still looking comfortable in third place. Loves with a little bit of an upturn in pace right now. He's keeping behind Ortlovs a bit comfortably now. I think it helps that Al Amri has had a drop because I don't think Ortlovs is quite as quick as what Al Amri was. The closest battle right now between Kant and Plumley for the 12th and 13th place. On the last lap, Plumley gained by nearly a whole second. In fact, over... No, it was nearly 9/10 of a second.
And Plumley, they're getting a bit of a look on the inside. And unfortunately, no opportunity for him there, but we are heading towards Spoon Curve, so there might be a bit of an opportunity here if someone makes a mistake. And you can see there, Plumley looking towards the inside, gets covered off by Kant, and they both go through the corner with no real visible mistake. And on the ride down to 130R as they go down the back stretch.
And another one round the outside. That is Kiedrowski that time. Round the outside of Muller. That was excellent. And again, kept part of his car on the inside left. Loads of space on the inside. And how far up could Adam end up? He is 1.7 seconds behind Van Harley. Yeah, that's catchable. In the time we've got remaining. Might be a last lap move. I don't think he's going to get any further than that. Oh no, has he got a slowdown or something? Because there goes Mats Muller. There's contact between the two of them. They've both been able to keep it pointing the right direction. But that must have been a slowdown. Nersishan has had an off in the background all by himself. And Plumley's off as well. What's going on now?
Yeah, looks like the first corner is the place not to be. Ooh, and that's a dangerous rejoin. As Plumley just barely gets ahead of De Leonardis onto the track again. I think he's going to be a bit angry about that. And Nersisyan joining behind them. I hope that's correct pronunciation. But the three of them united again on the track. Putniks now leading Loves and Ortlovs, who's still kind of just lurking there in the background, waiting for a mistake, utilizing the pace of Loves to just make his way up the field. And they have caught Putniks. So a bit of a battle here for third position. So that is going to heat up in the next few laps. Who is that?
Kiedrowski off once again. I say once again, I think it's only been once that he's gone off so far in this race. He managed to keep it in straight line in turn one. He was able to make the move eventually, but here was the mistake ahead of Muller and just did not have the grip with the tyres. They do overheat as the race goes on, remember. So that could have well been a factor. Gets very tricky in the second half of these Radical SR8 races. A quick shout out, by the way, to SDK Gaming, another sponsor of this series, the providers of our overlay. Looks so clean up on screen. And yeah, if you want to get yourself a subscription to get the overlay, to get the live timing, to get the driver HUDs as well, do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk to get yourself a 14-day free trial. Oh, there goes De Leonardis. Oh, where's he going?
I was going to say that's one hell of a closing pace. Unfortunately, that's going to cause him a very big slowdown. And Nersisyan and Plumley gunning it down the main straight with Plumley under pressure. Nersisyan looking towards the inside. Is it going to get the overtake done? Yes, he gets the overlap. Hits the curb though. Is that a mistake from Plumley as he goes shooting off the circuit? Good recovery though.
I think Plumley's cooked those tyres. I mean, he's really struggling right now. We also just had a move for Loves over Putnieks, which was a surprise, because Loves was overtaken by Putnieks only a few laps ago, but the Spanish driver, or the Iberian driver, apologies, has been able to respond. Is he going defensive into the hairpin? Yes, he does. He's covering off everything at the moment. Seems fairly sorted between the top two, it must be said, more staying ahead of Halliburton. And this is a replay then of how it happened. Loves was a fair bit back.
Yeah, I mean, the draft very powerful in the circuit. Just squeezes it down the inside, manages to keep the pace going. And unfortunately, Putniks just doesn't have an answer for that pace that Loves carries through the inside. And that is the overtake done and dusted. So currently Loves in third position, and then Putniks and Ortlovs trying to sort it out. lap number 12 as Halliburton comes across the line with, Moore comes across the line with Halliburton in close pursuit, although there's a big difference in lap time between the two of them. So Halliburton behind Moore, just looking what happened here. Oh, and a very good recovery as the rear of the car just steps out. So that's where there's that 2-second difference in the, or I think it was a 2-second difference between their lap times came from.
Oh, Loves and Putniks currently alongside. We might, well, we'll find out what happened to Kant first. And this was currently in P14. I don't believe he lost a position due to this, albeit maybe Deliadanis managed to get past. Yeah, I think he did. But Love still is ahead then of Putniek, so there has not been a change in this battle, but they were alongside for a couple of corners. I think still Putniek is faster. I think he just made a couple of mistakes within a couple of corners with one another. That opened up the opportunity for Loves. And Halliburton's had another off, and I think a bit like Plumley, I think he's cooked those tyres.
It kind of feels like we're watching a TikTok trend or something like that emerging, because we saw Max do the 360 race win at Hungary, and it seems like almost all the drivers are trying to do the impression of that 360 turnaround and trying to get on with the race. Of course, the tires just being absolutely cooked on this circuit. A very, very challenging race for the drivers. Al Ambry, unfortunately, off the circuit yet again at the hairpin.
Yeah, and that's Stephen Place managing to get past. The amount of mistakes that we're seeing right at the end of the race is absolutely crazy. Is this one going to be under traction, or is he going to just try to go in with too much pace? Yeah, went in with too much pace. In fact, his line going into the corner was a bit wavery as well, so was not his best effort that time. Top two spread out, 18 seconds back to P3. Putniek still a little bit back, and if anything, it's Ortlovs who's more likely to make an overtake.
Yeah, and everyone's going to be very happy at the moment. So white flag out, and this is a run down to turn number 1. Ortlovs getting a very good drop here on Putniks. Putniks on the inside, and around the outside goes Ortlovs and gets that overtake done. I almost got a bit confused with the two cars there for a second. But yeah, Ortlovs taking 4th position. Nesessian also under pressure with Kidrowski behind him going into the first corner. No overtaking opportunity for him yet, but they are getting mighty close to one another. I think there was 2/10 between the two of them at some stage, and everyone kind of trying to get their last moves done for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's tricky to keep track of all the mistakes that drivers have had, or all the issues that drivers have had, because I think both Nesessian and Kiedowski have had their fair share, but have ended up on a similar piece of track. Also, Plumley's just been able to get, oh dear, so Kiedowski's just had another incident there, so I think that must be at least spin number 3, might be number 4. I'm not entirely confident on that one. Boughton lead, no stopping this one.
And through the Casio triangle, Moore goes for the last corner of the track. Very, very good race from him as he goes down the main straight to cross the line in first position. A huge gap between himself and Halliburton. Halliburton getting hindered by the tires in the last few laps of the race, but he's still going to be very happy with that second position. And Loves and Ortlovs and Putniks, the 3 of them going through the Casio triangle. Massive battle for the entirety of the race between the 3 of them, so good racing all around. A little bit of a draft there between Ortlovs and Love. From the camera angle, almost looks like there was going to be a bit of a position swap. And then we've got Van Hel and Muller. Muller all the way into 7th position, and Al Amri and Place. So Place 8th position, and Al Amri crossing in 9th.
Yeah, 7 places gained for Al Amri, joint highest gainer along with Ortlovs, who was in P4. And then for the rest of these drivers, a disappointing day. Blanco managed to get back out on track. Credit to Blanco there, because he had to take repairs. He was stationary in the pit lane for 5.5 minutes, was the Uruguayan driver. But he did get back out there. Dixon and Shembri, anyone who didn't see that crash earlier on, you can understand why they didn't come back into the race. If that was real life, it would have been 4 legs being broken, I think. So those cars were absolutely destroyed, engines blown, and they probably quit out the server about 10 minutes ago. But there is Blanco across the line for the final time, and that is all your finishers passing the checker flag.
Massive respect for Blanco for actually sticking in the race and completing it. It does take a lot of effort. So, looking at your race results, so Nathan A. Moore taking first position, and yeah, he really had to work for that first position, but very good driving from him. Then we've got Kane Halliburton managing his tyres into second position. Pablo Loves just absolutely duking it out for third. And then we've got Ortloves racing up the track for fourth position. Putniks in fifth and Van Hel in sixth. Then Julius Muller with the recovery drive, only losing, I think that was 4 or 5 positions in the race. Just 4 positions in the race. So good damage control from him. Then Stephen Place in eighth, Al Amri in 9th position, Narcissian in 10th, and then we've got Plumley in 11th, De Leonardis in 12th, Kandrowski in 13th, Felix Kant in 14th, and then we've got Blanco, Skimbry, and Dixon in 17th position. So yeah, very, very interesting race. I'm just going to take this opportunity to thank our third and final sponsor. So we've got Apex Racing Academy. If you're feeling inspired after seeing this race and you kind of want to get back into the action, but you're a little bit rusty, do go check them out because they do offer 29 data packs. They've got setups, track guides, and integration with VRS. They've also got weekly group coaching sessions and a few extra little goodies. So do go check them out if you are interested. So that's Apex Racing Academy. Sam, a bit of an interesting race. I'm sad that it's over, but we've had a fair bit of excitement for this Friday evening.
Yeah, really good stuff. It was good that we had a proper lead battle as well out on Suzuka, because I was a little bit concerned, you know, Halliburton, he's so quick that sometimes he can get pole position and then sprint away with the race win, but we did not see that. And in fact, we saw his maybe vulnerabilities a little bit out there. Whilst he was able to get pole, he wasn't able to hang on to it. He made those few mistakes at the end of the race, sort of showing that he was pushing extremely hard out on circuit. And of course, the battles further down the order were absolutely brilliant. Pablo Loves in particular, pulling off some nice overtakes, avoiding any mistakes, and maximising that result. But yeah, one of the most error-prone races of the season. I feel like recently, Johan, we've had a few races where there's been a lot less errors, but tonight there were plenty of them.
Yeah, when I was writing the intro for this, I just threw in the fact that the drivers were going to be tested to their utmost ability. It's kind of just one of those things where you're like, yeah, it's a difficult track. They're going to be tested. I did not expect this. If we do have a moment, we can maybe even ask the opinion of our resident racing driver, Mr. Jamie Fluke, what his opinion is as to why so many errors were being seen on track. Of course, if you do compete in the Radical Racing Challenge, we do have a spot if you want to come and do a bit of an interview afterwards. You can just join the Apex Racing TV Discord channel and then jump into our interview waiting area. For now, Sam, not really someone that wants to come and say hi. I think it was a bit of a tough race for everyone. They might want a break after that.
Yeah, I feel like Moore is probably happy right now, Loves is happy, and everyone else will be thinking, could have done a bit more out there. Which is just one of those races where everyone thinks that they could have done better. It's one of those races where, yeah, everyone thinks that they can win or at least get a better result. So yeah, understandable on this week. But yes, if you're listening along, you take part in the top splits, come join us. Even if you finish last, even if you had a crash like Dixon and Shembri out there, come have a chat with us. good to have a talk with the judge to learn more about this Radical SR10 because, of course, it's still very new to the service. But I think we can have a chat with Jamie. Jamie, I think Johan was saying earlier on just how many mistakes there were. I mean, is it the classic Japanese tarmac you think that caused these drivers to make so many mistakes, or was it something else?
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, it's a good question. The Japanese tarmac, which is sort of infamous on iRacing for having very little grip regardless of track temperature, does play a significant role here. But it seems like the car doesn't seem to be particularly suited to this track, from what I could see just based on how the car seemed to be behaving. It looked like a bit of like understeer sort of on entry, so a lot of the drivers were really trying to force the car to rotate, and the tyres, as you've alluded to during the pretty much every broadcast of the season, it takes a little bit of time to get temperature built up, and then once the temperature is built up, it doesn't take much to push the car over the edge. So that's why we've seen so many mistakes, especially in the latter half of the race, even from Kane Halliburton, who has been almost invincible in this car. He was even prone to a mistake or two this evening.
Do you think those kind of car behavior or characteristics could be dialed out with a different setup? I mean, if you have a bit more front end on corner entries, do you think that the issues that the drivers had could be evaded a bit more?
In theory, yes, but of course this is a fixed setup series, so whatever iRacing provide you is what you've got to run, and you're very limited in what adjustments you can make. Ultimately, it's just brake bias, I believe, is the only notable adjustment in car that you can make. So yeah, all that's going to do, if you want more entry rotation, is you're putting more heat and energy through the rear tires, overheating them anyway, and then causing yourself issues later on. So I did notice as well a few guys were struggling with some front lockups, so maybe they were trying to mitigate the rears overheating by putting more energy through the fronts, but yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22. It just seemed like a very tricky day out there for everyone, and I'm sure for a lot of those guys, just happy to see the checkered flag.
Jamie, a bit of a question from my side. So we've seen the track, of course, being a challenge, and the drivers would have had an opportunity during the week to really pick up on this. Do you think there's maybe an alternative strategy that could have been taken to promote your chances of doing well in this race, or did you see a strategy on track that you thought was maybe the right approach? Or what do you think, how would you approach this race if you were racing in it?
So how Nathan Moore planned his way to victory on this one was very smart, I feel. He sat behind Halliburton and used the draft to his advantage, seemed to protect his tyres, let Kane do all the hard work for him, and then took over from the front with, I think it was 4 or 5 laps left to go, and never really looked back from that point. Alternatively, I've seen a couple of guys, charging really hard at the start, made up quite a few positions, and then got into troubles and difficulties later on in the race. So maybe playing your cards a little closer to your chest earlier in the race can pay dividends later on, especially with how things can be at Suzuka. It's always been a high tire wear track, and so protecting your tires for later in the race is rarely a bad idea around here.
And then we saw that kind of early off track by Müller when he had some contact made with him. I think it was contact. But then as a driver, how do you get your mind reset after you get thrown all the way to the back of the pack, and how do you kind of prepare yourself for a recovery drive, making your way up the pack and trying to get the maximum results out of such a mistake?
Yeah, it's always a tricky one. Nobody likes to have such a thing happen early on, and how you recover from that sort of is what marks really strong drivers. Sort of when your back is against the wall, how do you respond? Ultimately, whatever has happened, as long as you can understand why it happened. If you made the mistake yourself, understand why you've made the mistake, and make sure not to push that limit quite as hard for the remainder of the race, but for everything else, then do continue to push. I have had an issue around this particular track. We're going back to the old iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series. I was running in 4th around here, and I think Sam as well had mentioned the tricky curb on the exit of the first part of Spoon. I dropped it there, really clumsy, silly mistake, shouldn't be making it. But I didn't actually like get my head back into the game after it, made another mistake and fully stuffed it coming out of the Casio triangle. So bad days can happen to us all, but ultimately if you can bounce back from a mistake, even around here there are going to be opportunities, especially later on in the race as all the guys' tires wear off.
Fully agree with you there. I remember a very kind of apt saying that I got from one of the drivers when I was starting out with sim racing. He said on some of the days you're the nail and you kind of suffer for it, but then on some of the days you do take the role of the hammer. So yeah, as you said, sim racing does have its days, but fully agree with you. It's kind of just getting in the right headspace, resetting, being self-critical, and then working from there. Sam, any questions from your side?
No, not too much. I'm just looking at what the schedule is for the remaining rounds, which would have been smart for me to think about that before I brought it up. Unfortunately, it's always going to be a downhill from Suzuka, because once again, it is the best track in the world. But the next round is going to be Imola, which, to be fair, is a classic as well. So I don't know about what you guys think, but I think that should be a lots of fun, and maybe the short radius corners around that circuit might be a little bit easier for the drivers to cope with compared to here.
Yeah, it's I think it's one of the tracks that the drivers got an opportunity to race in that. Was it week 13 where the drivers had some opportunity to drive with the new SR10? But there's definitely been an opportunity to race at Imola with this car before. I've also raced there myself. It's a very fun track. It's manageable for me, so I can believe it being very manageable for the actual capable drivers. Hockenheim is a bit of an enigma to me. I don't know really what to expect from there. And Alton Park can be very, very fun. Depends on how well suited the car is to those conditions. But I expect we can see a fun little bit of racing there. And of course, the Nürburgring is classic. And this time, we'll be comparing car versus car, not in an actual race, but taking what we've seen in the previous seasons and seeing how this SR10 is going to cope around the Industriefahrten. So we're definitely looking forward to that one. Of course, if you are looking for more racing action, do go follow Apex Racing TV on either Twitter, Facebook, of course here on YouTube, or on Instagram. You'll see announcements of all of the interesting racing happening on our platform. So do check that out. If you are struggling to find them, just go to apexracingtv.com and you'll find all of the information there, as well as a link to our Discord channel if you want to come for the interviews. Looking at some of the races that are going to be happening this weekend. So tomorrow we've got F4 at the Nürburgring. So that's going to be the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4. Then we've got Formula 3.5 at Silverstone on the same day. And Sam, I believe you are commentating in the SRF Weekend Warriors. That will be happening on the 7th, so on Sunday. Definitely something to go and watch. Then we've also got IGP Fun F3. That will be at Spa, also on the Sunday. And then we've got Israel, so iRacing Israel League at Road America a bit later on Monday. The Ricmotec Classic Sprint Series, that will be happening at Daytona. Quite an interesting one with the MX-5s. And the Apex Racing League GT3 Trophy, they will be going to the Hungaroring. Interesting little race, I would believe. A very cramped track for the amount of cars they normally have. So that's also during the week. And we've got Ray Esports Racing League at Sonoma. A bit of a lesser known track, so do check that one out. And we've got the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup at Watkins Glen. That's bound to be an action-packed race also later during the week. Sam, any last messages from your side before we sign off?
Yeah, just make sure to tune in next week, and of course, as we often say on the broadcast, give the car a go. It does cost money now, unfortunately. It's not like the SR8, but go buy the SR10. It's worth it. I mean, it's going to be on iRacing for a while, so you may as well buy it now and then use it for, even if it's just occasionally over the next few years. And yeah, give it a spin. You might quite enjoy it. It's yeah, a really good race car, certainly. And it's got some proper grunts under it as well. So it's a tricky car to master, but we may well see you out in these top splits when it comes to the strength of field, so certainly give it a go.
Yeah, I will definitely agree with that. It's an awesome car to try out, especially at Imola, so do give it a go. And if you love a challenge, take a spin around Suzuka and see if you can finish the race without facing the same challenges. That being said, thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you for watching. From myself, Sam Fitzpatrick and Jamie Fluke, we bid you a good evening and hope you enjoy the weekend and possibly join us for a bit more racing as the weekend unfolds. Thank you so much, and good night.